Hey Shamla, good morning.
Hi, morning, Carly. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, and yourself?
I'm doing good. Very good, thanks.
I heard you are close by.
Yes, I'm very close. I'm
You,
actually on work today.
you could have
So,
welcome in the
yeah,
studio this morning.
if it was a bit earlier, I would have definitely come.
Well, we would have loved if you could have made it here this morning. But I do know you have a chat this morning with Dr. Emannuel Hosein.
Yes, I do. Actually, elections they'll have wrong. So I'm trying to dive into what can be done for the disabled community
I see.
in Trinidad and Tobago, given the when the new government takes place, comes into effect.
Right. All right.
Yes.
Well, I'll leave you to your chat with Dr. Hosein.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique but Different with me, Shafna Maharaj. And today I have Dr. Emannuel Hosein, who is the president of the Disabled People International Trinidad chapter. He has a wealth of experience in terms of internationally and locally. So, good morning, Dr. Hosein.
Morning to you, Shamla, and the viewers of TTT.
How are you doing?
Surviving.
Great, me too. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Given your experience, why, in terms of the disabled community, what can be done in the new government system that can have a rippling effect in terms of a quantum leap in the
Sorry,
development within the disabled community?
Shamla, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you too well.
Okay,
Could
what
you
can
repeat
be
that?
done? Say that again. What can be done in the new government? In the new government, what can they do in terms of helping the disabled community to fast track our development?
Uh, well, the problem with the disabled being involved in development, of course, is a very broad issue that touches on all the areas that affect people's lives. You know, we need good medical care, rehabilitation, uh, access to buildings, to training, to education, to employment, etc., to be involved, so that you've got to look at all of these areas and have a holistic approach um, if the disabled are to be integrated in the development process. Um, and of course, in each of those areas I mentioned, there are problems and need for a lot of attention. Um,
And
the,
and
the
and, and
sorry.
in terms of the problems you mentioned, what would you consider as the most pertinent problems that need to be tackled immediately?
Well, unfortunately, it all starts with the attitude of society at large. Unless people are willing to make the sacrifice, unless the government of the day is willing to spend the money and engage in the relevant programs to deal with all the issues, um, what's going to happen? People believe there are many areas of development that require attention, and they see the disability issue as just one of those, and traditionally we've been just left out completely. Over the
Right.
last, say, 20, 30
Mm-hmm.
years, there has been increasing awareness on the part of the public and greater sympathy, but that still not has not yet translated into the kind of actions and programs that are necessary. In terms of I don't think one could identify one area that is more important than the next.
Because
Um,
one depends on the other.
I can say where it needs to start. Um, we in DPI many years ago, in fact, wrote to the two major political parties at the time, asking to meet with them to discuss what their policy and program document will include with regard to the disabled. We didn't get much of a response. Um, we haven't done it this time. Election was called rather at short notice. Um, but having said that, um, a lot of people are paying attention. And just last week, the Law
Mm-hmm.
Association hosted a seminar on
Right.
legislation for the disabled. And I participated in that. And that's important because that is by that I mean legislation governing disability, because Trinidad is a place, unless you have to do it, you don't do it.
Right. And what would you, in terms of, if you had a chance to get into Parliament now, what would you tell, what would you do in terms of, in terms of telling the government or influencing of having persons with disabilities involved in policy making and legislation and so on?
I would say legislation.
Yeah.
I have spent 40 years of my life agitating over the disabled issue. I have functioned at the highest levels. Uh, I was on the UN panel of experts on disability, etc. And I think the world has come to the stage where the philosophy and the ideas and the concepts regarding the disabled have all been written and signed off on. There's the UN Convention on the Rights of the Disabled. In Trinidad and Tobago, there's a more than adequate, recently promulgated policy on the part of the government. I have no quarrel with any of those. But it's now time for action. And the
Right.
only way we are going to get action is if the law mandates that it be done. The time has come for a law that says if you have a business, it must be accessible to the disabled. It must have a ramp. It must have doors that can be easily opened by someone in a wheelchair or with a physical infirmity, etc., etc. There must be staff
Okay.
trained to help the disabled,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And that goes
Right.
on. The
So,
same for education and transport.
yeah. Right. So, like in closing, I'm not too sure if this is a minuscule question, but I'll just throw that out there since you have the experience. But given that recently there was two recovery committees to fast leap or fast track implementation of certain projects, do you think that would be effective if that were to happen within the disabled community?
Well, sorry, I didn't quite get all of your question. I don't know if it's
Would
my
would
computer.
would okay? Would a committee, right? Similar to a recovery committee, would that be
Yes,
effective
yes.
in terms of fast
Um,
tracking?
I don't know. Things done by committee are the worst things. If you ask me, what you need is a disability czar, some one single person, one minister who understands the issues, who knows the entire range of issues that affect the disabled, who can then dictate what's to be done. I'm scared of committees. I've been in government and you build anything by committee, it's destined to satisfy no one.
I agree.
So I have to say no to that. That's
More,
my personal view.
okay, so it's basically we need more action, less talk.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Basically,
The talk is
right,
over.
right,
Worldwide,
great.
eh? Not just here in Trinidad. It's over.
Right. And in closing, would you like to say anything briefly to close off?
Well,
If given. Mm-hmm.
the only thing I would comment on is we have an election coming. I hope we have written the EBC asking to meet with them. I hope that all the procedures have already complicated by COVID-19 are going to be adequate to allow all disabled persons, whether physically, hearing impaired, sight impaired, intellectually impaired, will get the opportunity to vote as easily as the rest of the population.
Perfect. And I want to say thank you so much for, being a guest on my segment here again on Unique Not Different. And it is always a pleasure to interview you, Dr. Hosein. And with that being said, guys,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for my pleasure, Dr. Hussein. And I would like to say thank you so much for tuning in to Unique Not Different on TTT right now. And with that being said, guys, as I always say, be good, and I close out with a smile. Bye, guys.